how would you say I was gonna say should, I don't want to say should.
It's okay. Yeah, I will understand. It's
Well,
not about the language. It's not the same.
If you have two people who are trying to have a conscious, awakened relationship, they're both on the same path, it can get very challenging. It can get very painful. Do you have any like best practices, perspectives to have that can be helpful? And I need this too, so I'm listening to your answer.
Okay. Okay. I will try to give some advice based on what I learned. So it can be very painful. Yes, absolutely. So there are a few things that you can do. First of all, everyone's pain is their own responsibility. So your pain is your responsibility. Your partner's pain is their responsibility. It does not mean that it gives you green light to abuse them, right? So it does not mean that you should be a dick and completely insensitive to their own pain, because again, right? So how easy it is to misinterpret spiritual teaching, like Artem said, your pain is your responsibility. Yes. I'm just gonna talk to you however I want, right? Because it's not my responsibility. That leads to abusive behavior. So being callous and causing another person pain also actually comes from internal pain. So this behavior needs to be addressed. Now, of course, everyone makes mistakes. No change happens instantly, so it requires a lot of patience, right? Both with you and with another person. Our unconscious programming, our patterns, they don't dissolve in an instant. It usually takes many years. So we notice it again and again. We notice that we have some aggressive or judgmental behavior that is coming from our own discomfort, that is coming from a pain. Sometimes we notice ourselves, sometimes our partner helps us notice. We look at it, we can make the same mistake again. Maybe the amount of pain as it felt through it maybe lowers with time, but it's still there. So usually the way it goes is that if there's some dysfunctional behavior, first it rises up to the level of consciousness. So first we need to become conscious of it, because we cannot let go of anything that we're still in denial of, right? But even once we're conscious of it, it takes some time for it to go away. So usually the way it goes is it just the same behavior starts appear rarer and rarer and rarer, but it still continues to appear. So we need a lot of patience for both people. That's one thing. Now, with regards to the first thing that I said, that the pain is your responsibility, meditation and other spiritual practice. So if you're in pain, if you're angry or hurt and stuff like that, it is still your responsibility to work through your feelings. And so meditation can be very, very helpful. And in this context, it's important to learn to give each other space. So a very important part of abusive relationships, of conscious relationships, is that when one partner says, I need to meditate, or I need to be alone now because I need to process something, another person does not insist that something gets resolved right away. I mean, this insistence, this impatience that something gets resolved right away is actually also their difficulty, their discomfort, and they should stay with that. So space is important. Now, with regards to communication, a very good tool for communication is nonviolent communication by Marshall Rosenberg, I think. So it's a wonderful tool. It's almost like nonviolent communication is almost enlightenment light, basically. So if you practice it, yes, if you practice it, it's going to be a very good thing for a spiritual path for a simple reason, that the kind of habitual conditioned communication is to tell another person what you did wrong, what they did wrong, right?
Yeah.
So nonviolent communication turns this around, and it makes it about what you feel, what and why you want the other person to change their behavior, without accusing them. So from accusatory, it becomes exploratory. So you have to, if you practice nonviolent communication, you have to stop. You have to identify what you feel. You have to kind of bring together as your emotional response, which is difficult, as a response to another person's behavior. You have to identify it. So you already have to look inside. That's its main value. So you already have to look inside, and then you have to phrase uh, your request in a non-judgmental way, making it about you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I want you to change your behavior because I feel this, and this when you do it, and I would like not to do it. So I'm asking you. I'm not like telling you you're a bad person, and I'm demanding you to change.
Right.
So that's how we usually communicate, right? So he called it jackal ears, and jackals and giraffes.
Yeah.
So we could use that. Uh, it's a great tool, and talking to each other. Like spiritual path is as much about truth and honesty as it is about anything else. So uh, honest conversations about what you feel, what you want, and your internal state, they can also be quite uncomfortable for both people, because usually, in relationships, people have very limited amount of intimacy, but the spiritual path is all about intimacy. Actually, basically, you could even define enlightenment as the state of absolute intimacy with yourself, when you no longer hide anything from yourself about anything. You could
Yeah.
define it this way, right? And that's why you also become independent of people, and not affected by them anymore, because you're not lying about anything. Uh, but the interesting thing is that uh, it's one thing to uh, admit something to yourself, which is very important, right? But to admit something to another person oftentimes is even deeper, oftentimes is even more profound, because uh, now you can't hide anywhere, right? So like admitting it to yourself is a prerequisite to admitting it to another person, right? So if you admit something to another person, then by definition you're also admitting it to yourself. It's deeper, right? So honest, sincere conversations about what's going on in you, what's going on in another person, in a non-judgmental, non-aggressive way, and processing your emotions, processing emotional responses, because sometimes as your partners start talking very honestly about what they feel, you might get hurt.
Uh-huh.
You
Yeah.
know, that happens. That also happens all the
I
time,
know what that's
right?
like. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So uh, uh, honest communication, uh, non-attacking communication, spiritual practice, meditation, giving each other space, uh, respecting each other. Uh, I think those are the most important thing. I mean, my wife and I talked for hours about everything.
Yeah. It's the way you're talking about it, it's like both very difficult to do emotionally, but it's actually quite simple, really. It's just, being kind to each other, taking
Yeah,
responsibility of your emotions, being honest. Like, it's both, I think, both the hardest and the most simple thing to
it's
do.
like with all this. Spirituality
Yeah.
is actually the easiest thing in the world. I mean, the path is extraordinary easy. I mean, I could describe the spiritual path as just pay attention to how you feel,
Right.
and never reject anything that you feel. And that's all the spiritual path, pretty much, right? But it's hard. It's difficult because we have very deep avoidance of pleasant emotions, and usually it takes years and years of practice to get to the state of equanimity. So it's like with all spirituality, simple but not easy, right? So the method is very simple, but emotionally it can get difficult. But it's also very liberating, and you are growing together in intimacy. You see, so growing in intimacy with another person is actually equivalent to growing in intimacy with yourself. That's exactly why it's difficult,
Yeah.
because you see, it's like even if another person is telling you something that is difficult for you to hear, uh, like for example, something that makes you jealous, right? Uh, uh, the uh, it's not like uh, uh, you are a categorically different individual. Actually, I mean, you can also find other men attractive, I'm pretty sure, for example. You see,
Yes.
so it's like we're always seeing mirrors of each other. I mean, uh, of ourselves. So almost every, we are so fundamentally uh, alike, men and
Yeah.
women, like people, we're so fundamentally alike, but we're in such a deep denial of it. I mean, ego also likes to present that, well, I am better than all the other people. You see,
Uh-huh.
you're absolutely the same.
Yeah.
so, so, so,
That's the
so, so, so
painful
that's,
part. We don't want to see that. No.
yes, yes. So that's why it could be difficult. You see, if you find emotionally something that another person is experiencing, if you find it very difficult emotionally, then rest assured you're also entirely capable of it. Like for example, if you find it difficult when someone is angry at you, if you find it very, very painful and very, very difficult, guess what? It means that like your habitual, probably conditioned response to anger from early childhood is withdrawal and submission.
Yep.
But you are an adult person now, which means that you have been withdrawing and submitting not to someone who is like 10 times your size, which would be your parents, uh, but to people that you had no need to do that. And there is just due to this, due to how you've been living your life in a sort of a submissive pose, there is a lot of rage in you about it now. and,
Oh
and so
yeah.
usually people that go through the spiritual process, like for example, if they were very much afraid of anger, they were fearful. Once they work through the fear part of it, under the fear, there's rage now, there's anger about it, you see? So it's like we are very, very much the same.
Yeah.
If you really have uncovered, seen, and integrated the part about yourself that the other person is currently struggling with, then it's not a struggle for you to see. But if
Yeah.
it is a struggle for you to see, then they are connected to you in some way, maybe not as like exactly direct way, like,
Oh
because
yeah.
like the example that I gave, the last example that I gave is not exactly direct, but they're still connected.
Oh yeah. You're speaking to my experience because that was my ego did not like that anger, wanted to withdraw, was submissive, but then yeah, going through
And
this experience.
have
Oh
you
man.
have you discovered your anger?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Of
Yes.
course, yeah, of
And the
course.
hatred, I went through a lot of
Yep.
hatred too.
Bitterness,
I
there would be
did.
lots of bitterness about it. Yes, because
Oh
you're living
yeah.
against yourself, so there will be a lot of bitterness and anger towards people who you perceive as your jailers.
Yes, and I'm still working through some of that. There's still some of that
It
there.
usually
But oh
takes
yeah, I
it
was
usually
I was like,
takes
"Oh
time.
no, I'm not an angry person." Oh, well yes, I
Mm-hmm.
have plenty of anger.
Of
I
course,
didn't
yes,
feel it. I didn't let
yes,
myself experience it.
yes. And in a
Oh yeah.
similar way, by the way, every victim is also a predator. In a similar way, if you're like a professional victim, if you position a relationship as a position of victimhood, then you will also use it to manipulate another person. And deep down also, there would be a lot of um, uh, superiority and condescension because you think that you're a much better person than this person who abuses you.
Yes.
And you would,
Uncomfortable truths we don't want to
yeah,
see. Yes.
yeah, yes,
Yes.
yes,
But it is true. No,
it
you're
is.
absolutely right. I saw it in myself.
And
I saw that in
and
myself.
I did too. I saw it was extraordinarily ugly. Like I was also one of the, I was also more on the victim side. But then I had to see that it was ugly and abusive too.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, you're speaking to such like deep truths here.